and welcome to my Top 5 Wednesday. Now this is part of a Goodreads group where we get challenges each week and I'll post all the info down below. I haven't done many of these videos before, but I've seen a lot of them, and from now on I'm going to start trying to do it a bit more, you know, actively. I'm going to do an effort here, right? This week's theme is 5 favourite debut novels. Debut. Some of these authors have published short stories and publications before, but these are the first novels. We're going to start with my book number 5. I'm going to start with a book that isn't necessarily a extremely well written book, but it is one of my favourite books and favourite stories. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. Bear with me. I think this is an amazing story. I love vampire novels and I love vampire stories. Dracula is one of my favourite books of all time. And this has everything a good vampire book needs. It has blood, it has like yuck, it has some sexual themes. It has like the creepy little vampire kids. It's just so good. And even though not all Anne Rice's books are amazing, and you know, not all writers can write all good, that's for sure. I think this is an extraordinary debut novel, and sometimes I focus more on the story than the actual writing itself, which is weird. I don't think I've ever said that sentence before. It's not a literary masterpiece, but the story is amazing. And yeah, you know, I do love a good vampire. Spike. Number 4. The Catcher in the Rye by J.r.r. Salinger. People are divided about this one. Either they love it or they hate it. I personally love it. It's an amazing coming-of-age story, and I read it when I was 15. And strangely enough, I loved Holden Caulfield. Now don't judge me, I was a shitty little brat. I don't like how I was when I was 15. I think that's a sign of maturity. But I still feel this real love for Holden. I just want to hug him and tell him it's going to be alright. But the language in The Catcher in the Rye is so good. It's like, this is how English is supposed to be used. This is why I study English. Number 3. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's a good fucking book. And it takes up quite tricky subjects. Racial issues, gender roles, class, sexual assault and rape. And this book is still important today, which is extremely sad, but true. And if you haven't read it, I think I'm not going to tell you to read it, but I think you might gain something from reading it, because I still haven't met anyone who didn't like To Kill a Mockingbird. I've met people who didn't really care for it that much, but they all find it equally important in our society. And I think a good book is also sometimes important. It doesn't have to be, but it does often say something about the society we live in. It's why we read, isn't it? To relate. Number 2. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, or Frankenstein, as I tend to call it, you know, Swiss. I need to say one thing first. If you read this, you should read the 1818 edition, because it's the first edition and it's the best edition. And it was created after Lord Byron suggested that marry Percy Bysshe Shelley and Lord Byron's personal doctor, John William Polidori. They had like a ghost story competition where Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein, and this was after she had just lost her baby. And it's she has a sad story, isn't she? Poor thing. It's about Victor Frankenstein, who creates a creature without any female influences, and it's basically about technology and how the society can function without females, basically, because the female role as the life giver is taken away completely. Doesn't go very well. Spoiler alert. This is one of my favourite books of all time. I'm writing my dissertation on this, and I think this is a literary masterpiece, and it says so much about the society she lived in, but also the society we live in, because this is about technology and how much can you play God. It's about the female role in society. Social issues. How do you treat the other? Because, you know, the creature doesn't become a monster out of nothing. It becomes a monster because people are monstrous towards him, because he's ugly. Anyway, it's a good book, and if you can, please read it, but 1818 edition. And book number 1. See, now that I should have held up books as I did this, I haven't. I can. Right, The Hobbit by J.r.r. Tolkien, published in 1937. This is by far my favourite debut novel. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. It's a children's book, and I read it when I was 8, and I found it to be a masterpiece. I'm sorry for being this, oh, the book is so much better than the movie, but it sort of is. A lot, actually. I find this to be an utterly astonishing book. It has everything that you need in a good story wrapped up into one little ball of just glory. I'm going to talk too much about it because I've talked about it so many times before. I've talked about several of these books before. I tend to like the same books, don't I? I need to do something about that. Anyway, I hope that you liked my list, and I am excited about seeing your list. If you don't make a video, just tell me down below. If you do make a video, link me down below. I'll see you soon.